So what is the smallest device that you can comfortably play games on? Well, inside here, I have the newest and smallest device by Anbernic, and it is small, so we're gonna check it out. Now, up until this point, I thought the smallest device released to the market that I could comfortably play my games on was the Game Boy Micro, and it was very tiny. And anything smaller than this, over the years, I have sort of written off as somewhat of a novelty. So what about the newest device by Anbernic? This is the RG Nano. Now let's take a look at this thing. Size comparison wise, next to the Game Boy Micro, not a massive difference. That's with the exception of one major thing. Let's talk about it. One thing I personally think Nintendo nailed with the Game Boy Advance is changing the overall layout of the device. So you're no longer playing in portrait and you are now playing in landscape. And for hands like mine, this was a very welcome change. The Game Boy Micro is also in landscape, so when you play it like this. And this is, in my opinion, the biggest flaw so far of the RG Nano. Holding it and being able to hit these shoulder buttons, not ideal. But there is quite a few things I do like about this device. Let's break it down. First and foremost, what's inside of this thing? The CPU is an ARM Cortex-A7 running at 1.2 gigahertz. That's, for the size of this thing, pretty decent. It does run on Linux, and it does come pre-installed with a ton of emulators. It also has a micro SD card port that supports up to a 512 gigabyte SD card, which is more than enough space for the games that you're gonna run on this. It comes with a headphone adapter, so if you wanna plug this into the USB-C port and use headphones, you totally can. So what emulators come installed on this thing? Let's take a look. We have Game Gear, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Atari Lynx, Sega Master System, NES, Sega Mega Drive or Genesis, PC Engine, TurboGrafx, and I thought the most interesting, it's a PlayStation 1 emulator. This thing's powerful enough to play PlayStation 1 games. I gotta admit though, playing something like Castlevania Symphony of the Night is a pretty terrible experience on something like this. Now, if you wanted to boot something up like Pokemon on here and play through it, that might be totally feasible. I don't know how long my hands would deal with them being so close together and being able to reach these R&B buttons like this. I really think that's the only reason why something like the Nano works, because it's a lot easier and more comfortable to hold. The thing that makes this really awesome though is the fact that you could pick one up from Anbernic right now on sale for 40 bucks. And for 40 bucks, I think this thing is a definite value.